Good morning, ladies. Happy Thursday. I hope this message finds you well. Rise on up. It is the start of a brand new day. Coming live from my parking lot at the office. Before I start my day, we have a sales rep event today and I have to get that set up. So I got quite a bit of things to do. But before I enter, we're going to do Esther. Esther chapters 5 and 6. And hopefully your day has started out right. And if not, get your heart prepped and ready because Esther's about to deliver some words up in here. I feel like that's about to happen and it's what's going to probably happen. So Esther chapter 5 verse 1 goes like this. Now it happened on the third day that Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, across from the king's house, while the king sat on his royal throne in the royal house, facing the entrance of the house. So it was, when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, that she found favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. Then Esther went near and touched the top of the scepter. And the king said to her, "What do you wish, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given to you up to half the kingdom." So Esther answered, "If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to the banquet that I have prepared for him." Then the king said, "Bring Haman quickly, that he may do as Esther has said." So the king and Haman went to the banquet that Esther had prepared. Verse 6, at the banquet of wine, the king said to Esther, "What is your petition? It shall be granted to you. What is your request? Up to half the kingdom, it shall be done." Then Esther answered and said, "My petition or request is this. If I have found favor in the sight of the king, and it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, then let the king and Haman come to the banquet which I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king has said." So Haman went out that day, joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, and that he did not stand or tremble before him, he was filled with indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home, and he sent and called for his friends and his wife Zeresh. Then Haman told them of his great riches, the multitude of his children, everything in which the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and servants of the king. Moreover, Haman said, "Besides, Queen Esther invited no one but me to come in with the king to the banquet that she prepared, and tomorrow I am again invited by her along with the king. Yet all this avails me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate." Verse 14, then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, "Let a gallows be made, 50 cubits high, and in the morning suggest to the king that Mordecai be hanged on it. Then go merrily with the king to the banquet." And the thing pleased Haman, so he had the gallows made. We're on chapter 6, coffee break. All right, verse 1. That night the king could not sleep. So one was commanded to bring the book of the records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, the doorkeepers who had sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. Then the king said, "What honor or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this?" And the king's servants who attended him said, "Nothing has been done for him." So the king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace to suggest that the king hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. Verse 5, the king's servant said to him, "Haman is there, standing in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in." So Haman came in, and the king answered and asked him, "What shall be done for the man whom the king delights to honor?" Now Haman thought in his heart, "Whom would the king delight to honor more than me?" And Haman answered the king, "For the man whom the king delights to honor, let a royal robe be brought which the king has worn, and a horse on which the king has ridden, which has a royal crest placed on its head. Then let his robe and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that he may array the man whom the king delights to honor. Then parade him on horseback through the city square, and proclaim before him, 'Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor.'" Verse 10, then the king said to Haman, "Hurry, take the robe and the horse, as you have suggested, and do so for Mordecai, the Jew who sits within the king's gate. Leave nothing undone for all that you have spoken." So Haman took the robe and the horse, arrayed Mordecai, and laid him on horseback through the city square, and proclaimed before him, "Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor." Afterward, Mordecai went back to the king's gate, but Haman hurried to his house, mourning with his head covered. When Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that had happened to him, his wise men and his wife's wife Zeresh said to him, "If Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish descent, you will not prevail against him, but will surely fall before him." While they were still talking with him, the king's eunuchs came and hastened to bring Haman to the banquet with Esther, which Esther had prepared. Now we're going to stop here. There's a word. There's a word for that. We're going to say this, I believe it's in verse 12, the latter end. If Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish descent, you will not prevail against him, but will surely fall before him. The fact that his wife forewarned him already and is realizing that even her own conviction, she had some type of discernment. We all do. It's that inner voice. You can call it a conscience. You can call it, some people call it, they name it. It's the voice that God created. It's your voice, your internal clock that tells you the difference between right and wrong, the difference of what you should and shouldn't be doing, making wise decisions, all the things. It's our free will to choose our choices throughout our day. Ultimately, God gives us that free will. He is a loving God, but he lets you make your own decisions, and at the end of the day, he does let you sit in it. But to the message for the person with that perhaps needs to hear this, no matter what you're going through, any evil around you, or someone being nasty, or a situation that you feel that is that was wrongly against you, or whatever the circumstances that isn't of Christ, but you know what that is, and if you don't, it means the positivity, light, joy, peace. Anything that belongs to God and Jesus is all about peace and joy. You'll never feel an icky feeling. You'll never be sad. You'll never be upset. That's all of Satan. That's the enemy. The self-doubt, the self-pity, all that. But there are some people in life we know that do nasty things to other people, and they get this rush out of it, and those souls we have to pray for. But know that if something is attacking you right now, it's the message that's out there for someone, that person will not prevail. God will prevail at the end through his people, as long as they are honorable and you stay true to your word and ethical and be moral to yourself and to him. Because I assure you, as a gal that has gone through quite a few circumstances in life, especially even my unfortunate nasty divorce that my kids had to endure because of lack of poor choices. Let me tell you something. I had to bite my tongue through a lot of situations that I should have just went crazy on and be vindictive and do all opposite of what the word says. But inside me, I knew it wasn't right, so I didn't. I wasn't going to go down to that level as much as we want to. It's free will. Remember, it's a choice. Let me tell you, thinking that at that hearing and all the things, let me tell you, did my favor not come through? Did the Lord not prevail? Did it not work out in beautiful justice of everything that had to happen, and let things relinquish and let things be gone and let go? I mean, let me tell you, the Lord is good. Sometimes it doesn't come right away. It could take a couple years too. But let me tell you, his will always prevail. So do not give up. Do not be upset. Don't be discouraged. As my mom always says, look to scripture. Look to scripture and worship. And yeah, I hope you have a blessed day. I got to get inside and get to moving. I hope, someone got something out of this. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye.